Namaskar and good morning to each one of you.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
I hope you are able to see the screen which is there.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
So today I'll be talking to you, as we all know that we are going through a period which is unprecedented in terms of what the global scenario is there. And the pandemic has caused a lot of loss of lives, affected livelihood of people, impacted industries and businesses, and there have been lockout of various regions and countries globally. The Indian government has taken stock of the situation very proactively, and what we have seen is that the lockout was initially there for 21 days, which has now been extended to 40 days and goes up to 3rd of May. Very recently, in fact, yesterday, there was a talk by the Reserve Bank governor in which he gave out certain numbers which I wanted to share with you. And according to the estimates, the loss in terms of overall globally is to the tune of $8 trillion dollars as per the assessment made today. And that is to the extent of the total global economy of Japan and India put together. And as we go along, the losses can increase from $8 trillion to anything beyond. As far as the GDP of India is concerned, what he said was according to IMF and World Bank, the estimates range at about 1.9%, but it could be anything between 1.2 to 1.9%, while the developed countries, whether it is America, Europe, Russia, Middle East, most of them will be having a negative growth ranging from 5 to 6%. So the scenario looks pretty bleak at this stage. Well, today I will be sharing with you a presentation made by FICCI Arise, and this is a vertical of FICCI looking after K-12 schooling. Here we have almost 100 groups as members, and these groups comprises of the progressive schools. So this presentation was done by them and myself and some of the key members, including Prabhat from Pathways, Manit from Heritage, and all of us were there to make this presentation. I have been a co-founder for the FICCI Arise vertical at FICCI, and at the presently I'm the co-chair of this particular committee. This particular committee focuses on 4 or 5 areas. The first is it is with regard to research in education. Secondly, it is about policy advocacy both at the central government and at the various state levels, and it is of dissemination of good practices and quality amongst all the members. While this report is mainly for K-12 schools, but I wanted that all the members from our management institute should also participate, and also from preschools and franchise schools, because the issues and the challenges that we face are by and large the same. Some of the facts which I would like to put up is here. If you can go through the screen, according to UNESCO, out of 197 countries that we have in the world, 192 countries have implemented nationwide closure of schools, impacting 90% of the world's student population. In India, 320 million learners are there, 9 million plus teachers are there, and there are close to 1.5 million schools which has been affected by this countrywide closure. The impact is both in short term, which could range from 8 to 10 weeks, but as we see it now, it is not short term, but potentially medium term, and it might be possible that it might affect the schooling and how we imagine schools for the next 1 or 2 years and for a much longer period. Besides this, there will be challenges with regard to recovery of fees by the unaided schools, and the cash flows will be impacted. We all know that most of the costs are of a fixed nature in the school, and hence we'll have to ensure that our cash flows are secured and we are able to meet our commitments effectively. We all know that a lot of schools have gone into technological platforms, and I must compliment the whole teachers fraternity and particularly all our teachers and the people in the administrative team as well as the leadership team who have wholeheartedly committed themselves to ensure that the learning is not disturbed. Because of the challenge, we have been able to develop a system wherein if the students can't come to the school, the schools are going to the homes of the children. And my full appreciation to each one of you for being able to do this. While it required a lot of training of the teachers, a lot of difficulty they have experienced in terms of using the different types of platforms. But I'm very encouraged and happy to see that the feedback that we are receiving is quite encouraging. Next, maybe. Uh, I would like to share with you some of the steps which the state governments have taken, and I've listed down a few states as to what they are thinking, because each state is worried and concerned of the hardships which the parents are facing. As far as Uttar Pradesh government is concerned, firstly we had the fees regulation, and now they have come up with an order in which they have mandated that the school fees will be taken by the schools not on a quarterly basis but on a monthly basis. They have also said in this order that we will continue to give the academic support and learning to each and every student despite the problem relating to the fees which their parents might face. Also, we have to ensure that we do not uh, take them out of the rolls and they continue with their learning experience. Similarly, Uttarakhand government has come with an order wherein they are asking for deferment of the payment of fees. Karnataka has been harsh, and for them, except for areas, no fees will be collected for the forthcoming academic year. Maharashtra's order says deferment of the payment of fees for this quarter or up to the lockdown period. Punjab again has an order that any type of fees collection is prohibited until the lockdown period. Further, 30 days grace period has to be given after the lockdown is lifted. Similarly, there are instances about Odisha, which I'm not getting into each and every detail because this presentation will be shared with you. While for Haryana, it is more or less similar to that of the UP government. Even Delhi government announced, and Manish Sisodia ji has announced yesterday, that no fees increase will be there. All the salary of all the people will have to be protected, and whatever they have been charging as development charges or other annual charges will not be collected from the parents, and the tuition fees will also be on a month-to-month basis. We all know the biggest challenge is in Delhi because they have not been able to revise the fees for the last 5 years and they had to implement the seventh pay commission. So, well, these are the different circulars and the status of what the state governments are thinking and the challenges which the schools are facing in these different states. The key issues which I like to take up today relates to these five verticals. One is sustaining learning. The second is demonstrating compassion. The third is building a contingency plan. The fourth is regarding the stakeholders management. And the fifth is with regard to advocacy. So what I intend to do is that I'll take each of these issues one by one, and maybe I have 2 or 3 slides for each of these verticals. And once I complete with these slides, maybe we can have some reaction, a short reaction from the principals or directors in relation to that point that I'll be referring to. So we begin with sustaining learning. We all know that continuous learning is happening by the use of technology, and various different platforms are being used by schools. Zoom is by and large the most common and popular platform, while other platforms like Google, Microsoft, WhatsApp, Sway, Kahoot, Seesaw, and many other tools are being used by the schools for imparting their education. Although there have been certain concerns raised by parents and also by the government with regards to the use of Zoom technology, but we have checked with experts, our Kyber expert team, that in case certain systems are placed, which we are doing as a group, then there is no difficulty, and the privacy of whatever is being delivered and the privacy of all our students, parents, and teachers can be maintained. And that we'll have to share with our parents with regard to the safeguards which the school is taking to ensure that there is no more challenge with regard to security concerns. The guidelines have been shared with Harish ji, and Poonam had also aware of it, and this will be made available to each and every teacher so that they can communicate effectively with the parents. There are other issues with regard to screen times, and we have also been receiving some negative feedbacks with regard to the amount of screen time the parents are using, and this is a challenge with not only our school but many other schools. As we are trying to ensure that we are able to complete the academic calendar and have all the subjects. So at times we are having classes for almost 5 to 6 hours in the higher classes, and for the lower classes it can range for almost 2 hours to 3 hours. But the screen time usage, also parents are complaining that this should be reviewed, and I think the leadership team will have to deliberate as to what is most effective, what the parent thinking is, and how we can ensure that by reducing the screen time, we still continue to complete our academic calendar and impart rigorous academic curriculum to all our students. With regard to the academic calendar, all the schools are making rigorous efforts. They're also trying to ensure that they reduce the number of events in a year and focus more on academics. They explore the possibility of starting the school on Saturdays if some of the schools are not doing, because if they have to catch up with the academic delivery, and if we are not able to do it between Monday to Friday, there some of the schools are also using Saturdays for some online lectures and worksheets. They are also preparing that how post lockdown we will prepare the schools, and SOP standard operating procedures have been made for this, and probably if not circulated, they will also be circulated to all the members. The biggest challenge that we are facing when I've been talking to the leadership team and to various school leaders is with regard to assessment of every child while they are taking the classes. And this is another area which I think the teachers and the faculty members will be best to be able to understand and find a way out so that the learning happens. But generally the feeling is that once the students come back to schools, they have to be reassessed with regard to the learning that has happened during the lockdown period. And in case any remedial classes have to be done for them, then that also has to be done so that they do not lose on the learning that was there during the shutdown period. While as we are talking about social distancing, even if you have to resume work, whether it is in factories, whether it is in schools, whether it is in airlines, what is being talked about is that the classrooms might not continue to have to begin with the all the full number of strength of students. In our schools, we have close to 40 to 50 students in various classes. In preschools, it is 30 to 35. But there could be a challenge that there might be guidelines that you can have working on alternate dates, wherein you can get only half the number of students so that we are able to maintain the norms with regard to social distancing. And these are challenges which we'll have to be very cautious about and follow the guidelines to the hilt. So in respect of online learning, COVID-19 crisis has compelled the education fraternity to turn to virtual world of delivery. And this I've already talked about. Educators have to be simultaneously trained and retrained on digital platforms. And for this, I have been talking to the leadership team that we should have a strong backend support of our IT to help the teachers, the students, and also, if necessary, the parents, so that they do not face any challenges with regard to the IT platform that they are using or any other practical problem with the devices. At times when I am also using my device, I face a lot of challenges, and I can imagine the problems which the teachers might be facing when they are having a connectivity problem or data problem with the students, and at times the appliances with the people which they are having, where there are more than one or two students in a particular household, how the delivery of effectively can be done with those students has also to be seen. So the teachers have to be more enthusiastic. They have to engage more effectively with the students, be creative. As we all know that the teaching in a classroom is much different than teaching on a virtual mode that we are doing at present. There has been lot of talk about synchronous learning as well as a blend of synchronous and asynchronous learning. And I think the teachers will have to understand as to how they can reduce the time which the people are engaging on the screens, and what are the effective modes of asynchronous learning, and a proper blend of the two will have to be ensured by our teaching fraternity. I do appreciate that while we are all this is new to us and we are experimenting in the whole process, there will be challenges, there will be mistakes, but we'll have to appreciate and acknowledge those mistakes, get learnings from them, and the biggest issue is that the teachers within the groups will have to collaborate with each other, share their experiences, and see what works and what does not work for them. And whatever is working for them, they should be able to share it with the whole leadership team amongst the three schools and also with the franchise schools, so that the best learning can happen with each and every school. As far as the stakeholders are concerned, the students, we have to show a lot of empathy because there's a lot of depression, there's mental tension, agony, disturbance, and schools and the children are really disturbed. While they are appreciating the online teaching which is happening, both the parents as well as the teachers, but still we have to ensure that the SEL, that is the care that we have to give to the children and to the parents, the empathy that we have with them, the sense of belonging that we have, appreciate the good work that they are doing, and above all, to ensure that the safety, which is the most important and critical thing, is there, and continuously we talk about it. Well, for the teachers, completion of syllabus and assessment is always a challenge, and the whole leadership team is fully working and active on this. And I will stop as far as the teachers is concerned. That these two focus areas of completion of syllabus and assessments are critical. We have to continuously monitor the attendance of students, also talk to parents whose students are not engaging themselves in the lesson plans, and ensure that everybody is given the lessons. And thirdly, when it comes to parents, we have to support them in every respect. And if we have any feedback, we have to monitor that. And I'll be talking about the parents separately in more detail. So the 3R approach, which Vicky Arise has been talking about, is with regard to the relationships, that mean exhibiting care and connecting with parents. Relevance, which is on focus only on the core and self-interest projects. And the third is the rigor, the rhythm and the routine, and to create a sustainable environment. FICCI also conducted a survey from the 100 groups of schools that they have. And this survey is about a week or 10 days back. So this figures will keep on changing. But out of the response that we received from 51 schools, the outcome was that full-fledged classrooms are being done on virtual mode by 67 to 68% of the school groups. 35% are doing part of it, and so on. But each and every school is working on some option so that the learning can happen for the students. So this was with regard to my first slide, which was regard to and if there's any reaction from the from some of the principals with regard to this, I would like to them to share. This is with regard to sustaining learning. So Manjuji or Shikhaji and any principal or director can talk about this as to what their experience has been. We'd like to hear briefly for a minute from each one of them. If they want to go ahead, please. Can you unmute them, Harishji?
Sir, may I speak?
Yeah, please.
So there was this suggestion about making Saturday a working day. What we have done at the Lucknow school is, because for the up till the primary grades, we have incorporated activity periods through the week, Monday through Friday. But for the seniors 6 and above, we are only running hardcore academic subjects. What we did was that we've started from last week activity classes for the seniors 6 and above on Saturdays, which will give them that required fun element and unwinding and connect with the teacher, as well as the SEL classes. So today is the second round of SEL classes running on Saturday. I think that's working well with the kids.
Great, great. Anything Manjuji or any other director who would like to step in?
Well, I think like what Poonam said, could you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. So similar manner, we also have integrated a lot of our activity classes along with the, the subject classes. But for class 11th and 12th, we are having this challenge because the competitive, classes have started on Saturdays.
Yeah.
So the children are not available. We did have Saturdays working, we did have classes, but the children were not coming for that. And there has been a request from parents that you should not make 11th and 12th Saturdays. So we have kind of put on hold the classes for 11th and 12th on Saturdays. But by and large, activity, generally we are sending videos because I think that gives a liberty to the parents to view it at their convenience. However, the core subjects, online classes are happening, right?
Okay. Anybody else would like to speak? Otherwise, we go to the next slide.
I would want Madhushri to speak on this because there was a gap from my side. If Madhushri has something to share, she will be able to tell. Otherwise, our children are used to Saturday being a working day. And they are into the system, and the attendance is also more or less same as the other days. So Madhushri, is there anything else you would like to say?
No, ma'am. Thank you very much. We are running even the activities successfully, and we are having Monday to Friday working for primary and pre-primary, and Saturday is a normal working for middle school and senior school. And we have incorporated our activities in our timetable and not having any big issue. We are doing it successfully, sir.
Thank you.
Generally, all of us are going through the school planner actually. We have uploaded the school planner, the one which we had planned on the school website, our almanac, and by and large, I can't say that we are, following it 100%, but by and large, we are trying to follow the planner which has been uploaded on the school website.
So I believe Saturdays should be utilized more in terms of collating whatever has been done in the whole week.
Yes.
The parents should be made aware of all that we have done. So it should be more of a parent connect day, a Saturday, so that we are all on the same page. That's it.
Vinod, sir,
Sir, I have a suggestion here. We will be having the senior leadership team meeting of the schools immediately after this meeting. We can do the suggestions there at that time. If we can continue with this session of Sir right now, because this finally is also getting recorded. So if I would request if Sir can continue this session, and that will help.
So can I move on? Hariji, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I can hear you, because the other questions we will take in the next session.
Yeah. Well, here's a slide with regard to the deepening economic crisis. And we all know that the cases are increasing on a day-to-day basis. The last count is almost close to 2.2 million confirmed, have been 0.4 have recovered, and the number of deaths are increasing by the day. So the challenge continues. And because of that, both demand and supply side are getting affected. And the worst hit sectors are tourism, hospitality, retail, even MSME sector, aviation, textile and clothing, where we also play a major part, are badly affected. And we have seen that there are a lot of losses, whether it relates to raw material, finished goods, debtors. People are not going to pay in time. And when you restart, it will take 3 to 6 months. So the pain in some of these sectors have been very, very deep. And because the retail shops all over the world might take another 3 to 6 or 9 months to reopen. So those challenges will continue. While education sector would also be affected, but the pain in terms of tourism and all these sectors is much more greater. According to Niti Aayog, it is felt that some of these sectors will have a revenue loss of almost between 70 to 80%. And even some retail sector and MSME sectors might have a revenue loss of 50 to 60%. So one can understand the challenges which other sectors are going through. And it will lead to mass unemployment and a lot of bankruptcies. So these are the challenges that we have. With regard to China, we all know it is the largest economy, second largest economy, about 17% of the world GDP. Shutdown of factories, delays in supplies of goods from China is also creating a major disruption. Livelihood of many people will be affected. The United Nations agencies estimate that the global ranking of joblessness would land between 5.3 million. While this data is very old, but it could be almost about 5 to 10 times much larger than what has been estimated at that length of time. And educators, administrators, and service providers, parents, and students around the globe are feeling the ripple effect of all this. So, because of all these challenges and the problems which are known to all of us, the important component is how do we demonstrate compassion? So, there are a couple of slides which I'll be going to present, and as to what we can do and what the state governments or central governments are mandating us to do. So these are some of the areas which the schools have been talking about, and we also have taken some principal decisions as to what we have to do in respect of each one of them. The first and the foremost is with regard to fees rebate, increase for the period during the post-lockdown period, and there the suggestive measures are no fees increase for 2021, no fees increase for the period April to June, rebates in April to June installments, and some other directives which are there with the state governments. While similarly, there are other areas, whether it relates to transport, boarding, meals, optional charges that schools have been charging. While a lot of costs at times are fixed costs, I've been told by some of the schools that the transportation cost, almost 60 to 70% is fixed. And some of the schools are also charging 30 to 40% of that charge from the school students, despite the fact they are not using the facility. but we have said that we will not be charging any transport fees, neither any boarding or meal fees, because these services are not being given to the students. And we have also done away with the optional fees for the students. While we had made a request to the parents to pay on a quarterly basis, but we have given them a clear window as per the directive of the UP government to pay in installment, and we abide by the circular of the UP government to ensure that people under distress, the students are not harassed. But there has to be a continuity with regard to fees, because unless we get the fees on timely basis, it will be difficult for us and the other schools also to maintain their cash flows. So these are some of the areas: concession on fees, deadline, and this analysis was done based on some collection of data which the schools have given. I will not go into the details as part of the presentation. So anything else as far as this is concerned? This was just a very small understanding as to how we can demonstrate compassion and what best we can do, looking to the fact that we have to continue our operations, meet our financial obligations, and also collect fees from the students. So I don't think there's much more to add on this. If you all agree that I can move on to the building contingency plan, and that will give a much detailed and in-depth study as to what is required to be done. So this I've already talked about, so I'm not going into the details. Now the cost saving measures, there's a very detailed slide, but some of the areas which are there are with regard to capex, repair and maintenance, staff welfare and professional development, rent negotiations, salary of staff, increments. Now this is a very detailed complete, which gives a complete operations both in terms of academic and administrative expenses. If you look at the x-axis, there we talk about academics, and within academics there are two boxes. One is the recurring or monthly expenses, the other is a one-time and annual expenses. So people, while budgeting themselves, budgeting for the calendar year 2021, are accounting for these various heads which the school incur as a cost. So in terms of academics, which are recurring on a monthly basis, it is the conference and professional development, printing and stationery, student participation, curtailment of welfare expenses, freeze on salary hikes, staggered attendance, salary cuts, increased class strength, reduced sections. The class strength might not be increased because there will be provisioning for the social distancing, so maybe it will be reduced, and staff optimization. While on the one-time annual cost, a lot of costs will have to be deferred or reduced, and which relates to reorganizing calendar to minimize events and celebrations, investments on non-essential projects. Some schools are thinking of suspension of professional developments of other teachers and other people. They are suspending academic services, example labs and libraries. Also rescoping the contracts and academic subscription, suspension of content and pedagogy, academics and career counseling. So these are various heads which have been put under the academics, while on the other side they are in relation to academics, and there are recurring expenses which you all know about, which is consumables, repairs, data, AMCs, staff welfare, hiring, freezing, productivity optimization, etc., etc. And on the one-time expenses, where we have to be further cautious about, is relating to new projects, upgrading projects, postponement of replacement purchase, sale of old, underperforming and unutilized assets, and so on. So one has to be fully in understanding of all the heads, and I will request all the principals, faculty member, principals and the leadership team along with the account and finance team to go through these heads, and whatever can be deferred or reduced to take a closer look, because we have asked for the budgets from the various schools. because I feel that there will be a drop of revenue by almost 15 to 20%, if not more. And that will depend upon our involvement of the parents with the teachers and how well we connect with the parent, so that we can encourage them to pay the fees while we are doing everything in terms of technology and other things. So what the other schools are doing is they are categorizing their parents into A, B, and C categories. So the A parents are those parents who have been very proactive, who have been making payment on a regular basis with regard to fees, and they are engaging with them. And every class representative have as a parent who can also be used to convey the message of what good practices the school is following. And almost 20 to 25 parents have been in most of the schools claim are A parents, while B parents are those who are fence sitters or not very active, while the C, which is almost 2 or 3% of the parents, are generally who are creating difficulties, and how to address them and how to take care of these parents is another area which will also determine the amount of fees that we'll be able to collect. The second is with regard to the payment of the retention of vendors and contractual services. And RBI has come with certain guidelines. Although we don't have much bank loans or financial arrangements, but some schools who are having loans for deferment of loans or getting additional cash flows are some of the areas and concerns. And the RBI has given the banks the mandate to support whether it is any business or industry, and for that matter, even schools, and for deferment of loans, which will not be treated as NPAs. So those things are also there. So all this would relate to the cash flow management of the schools and ensuring that we are able to build a proper and cohesive contingency plan, so that we are not able to default and we don't create any disturbance for the school. So with regarding to the contingency plan, I think apart from the principals, if any people from the finance team or from the administrative team would like to talk about something, I'll be happy to hear, and that can also be recorded and we'll discuss and try to work out and go into it in a deeper manner. Harishji, you can ask anybody who would like to react on this.
Yes, sir. As far as from the finance point of view, we have reduced our, due to the lockdown, there is a huge saving on the electricity front and on the diesel and diesel front, because the light is not, we are not consuming any light. And on the other end, we are also using some other measures that how we can reduce our costings. And for all these purposes, we have asked the revised budgets from all the institutes and directors, so that they can give their views also, that how they can reduce. If our top line, if our revenues goes down by 15 to 20%, then how we can mitigate and control that shortfall in the revenue with the short expenses we can presume on the basis.
तो इसको आप लोग वर्कआउट कर लीजिए, because admissions might be slightly affected both for management institutes and schools, and the revenue loss from the existing would also be there. So आप लोग in the next 15 days थोड़ा सा डिटेल में डिस्कस कर लीजिए, so that you can find a solution to the problem.
Okay, sir.
Anything else? Otherwise, I'll go on to the stakeholder management. Well, this is the most important area, because we have various stakeholders in the whole process, and how we engage with them becomes extremely important. And essentially here I am talking about, to begin with, only with regard to parent engagement and staff engagement. As regard to the parent engagement, all the schools are trying to have a grievance cell. Any complaint that is coming to the school is being monitored in a centralized manner, and replies are being given to the responses that we are getting, so that we are able to satisfy the parents with regard to the complaints that they have. And in case we are not able to do what exactly they want, we have to reason and give a proper answer, so that we are able to satisfy them to some extent. While there's a lot of positive feedbacks that I'm receiving about the type of teaching that is happening, but there will continue to be disgruntled parents, and we have to attend to their complaints. At times, there will also be some good suggestions from parents. So we have to deal with them with compassion and understanding and try to create a positive advocacy with the parents and to ensure that they are our partners in these difficult times. Well, they have always been our partners, but it is more important that in the present context, we actually treat each parent as a partner so that we satisfy them because they are also stressed to a large extent, and strategize and develop personalized plans for feed defaulters that we have to ensure increase the frequency of communication. And on the communication front, I would like to talk more deeply in due course of time as to what should be the systems which people are following, and initiate a positive advocacies and perception building through the parent community. Some of the schools have been mentioning that most of the class teachers are talking to 2 or 3 or 4 parents on a day-to-day basis, getting feedbacks. They are also having class-wise coffee sessions by the headmistress or coordinators, and at times randomly, the principals and senior management team and leaders are also talking to the parents, and everything is being monitored and data is being collected and shared with the top management so that we keep them happy, because unless we are able to do that effectively, I see that there will be a lot of resentment and the fees collection might dip considerably. So I'll appeal to each and every teacher through the leadership team to ensure that they monitor this very effectively, collect all the data, and ensure that the inflow of fees continues to the best possible manner. As far as the staff is concerned, we have to, while they are also under a lot of pressure, we have to keep them motivated, and there has to be a direct interface with the school management, and the principals have to communicate constantly, which they must be doing with all the members, both in the teaching community and the non-teaching community. So these were some of the methods in which engagement is taking place. I was also attending a webinar in which representatives of schools who are having more than one school, maybe a group of schools, both from India and abroad, were there. And according to them, the most important step in this time of difficulty is the communication. And what they have been pointing out is that the communication, what they are having, because they are running large number of schools, has to be simple, it has to be centralized, it should ensure that it builds trust, and well-being should be absolutely clear and effective. And this is what we will want, that we should at least communicate with our parents, and the principals or the head of the institute should write to them on a weekly basis as to what they are doing, how they are continually ensuring the learning, and whatever feedbacks, as I mentioned earlier, that we are getting, we should monitor more closely and more effectively. So this is the feedback which some of the schools have given with regard to circulars and email and dissemination of information, and wherever it is not possible in remote areas, ERP, mobile phones, and other methods are being used, and various tools are being used for engaging and communicating with the parent in a very effective manner. Any response from the principals with regard to this? Although a lot of work is being done, but if they have any other ideas to share on this platform, I'll be happy to receive those ideas, and then we can put it together and advise to the other people in the team.